it away. I know maybe you want to do a little prefacing before
Yes.
the next
let us
segment,
start.
which
Let us
is
start the
I do want to
preface.
preface some things. So, first of all, I do want to say
I'm gonna come. Bear spawn behind. Bear spawn behind.
Okay, I'm gonna sleep
Stay
it.
in the front. Pockets. Vince, I need you on the spider though. Pockets on the spider.
I love to preface before the preface. I'll preface multiple prefaces within the video, but I preface here in the stream because it's important that you guys understand, obviously, that this is still a work in progress. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what work in progress means.
Oh, guys, I'm gonna kill him. I have him glitched. Thank you for watching my intro. I hope you guys enjoyed it. A little bit of memes, a little bit of fun, a little bit of goofs. But I had a lot of fun playing the Alpha 2 test. And I hope you guys like my points. I got some pretty good feedback that I'm trying to give to you in this video, and some hot takes as well. So please skip around, look through the timestamps below. If you like the video, like and comment. Let me know what I can improve, and have a nice day. So let's talk about the solo experience versus group experience. That's my number one point. And it's very obvious in Ashes of Creation that this game is more of an old school style where I wouldn't say you're forced, but it's heavily, because you can play the game solo if you want to, but it's heavily incentivized that you find people, find a guild, just message like in chat, like, hey, want to group up to do this, to grind mobs or clear this content or to finish this hunt or commission that you're trying to do. The game really does reward you if you can find a group of people, and it will reward you with EXP essentially. The better group you have, the bigger group you have, the easier you can just like kill mobs on routine. It's the most efficient way to level up in the game. And I find most of the content, even if you want to get into crafting, even if you want to get into the node system, heavily incentivized that you work together with a group of people, a guild, or maybe just the community around that node in general. And that's what I actually kind of like about the game. I've experienced this in like PlanetSide 2, I've experienced this in other MMOs as well, and that's kind of the gameplay I like. I don't really like playing solo, I don't like playing alone. I like playing with a group of individuals that I get to know over time and I get to like gel with. And I think that's exactly what Ashes Creations is. Well, they've kind of told us this in the past too, but I think this is exactly what they're trying to achieve, and I think they've delivered it on. I think they delivered their intent of what they're trying to get players to naturally do, which is group up, make friends, start a community, and grow the storytelling of the game with others. Because, you know, an epic fight you may happen with like your PvP group, or a cool boss kill, or a crazy accident happened when you were trying to clear out a dungeon and you started pulling the entire room, and it was like you and 8 people and you took down an entire room of like high level mobs, you know, stuff like that. I think that's what the game has done extremely well just with the first play tests that I've experienced, because I'm fortunate enough to be in a guild and have pushed the limits of what can I do solo and group play. And it's, the contrast is glaring. You can tell right away that you can't play this game solo at 100% efficiency. Played solo, you're more like playing at 50% efficiency, if not less. Class diversity in Ashes of Creations has been done extremely well. If you're playing a tank, a healer, or a bard, don't feel like you're gimped because you're not a damage class. You're very valuable and are extremely necessary to be able to perform at the highest levels, especially when it comes to leveling up and grinding EXP. Every group needs a tank, a healer, and a bard, just for tanking the damage from the mobs, healing up everybody, including the tank, and then providing mana regen and buffs to help complement your DPS, your healers, and even your tank. It's extremely important that you play these utility classes. And it's not just, you know, damage is number one, regardless of what content you do. Now, damage can solo some things. Even clerics can solo stuff. It's a little bit slower. But you can solo the game, but the game like the game's design class diversity is so that you can combo and complement each other, and it's very obvious if you're lacking in one of the areas. Like, let's say your group doesn't have a bard whatsoever and you're trying to do the open dungeons or the harder level 20 zones or 3-star monsters, you're gonna experience like whatever they bring to the table, you're gonna be lacking. So in the bard's case, mana regen, if you don't have a bard, you're going to be struggling with mana, especially on your clerics if they're constantly reviving people. Now, in terms of, you know, group makeup and what's the most optimal group makeup, 1 to 2 healers, 1 to 2 tanks, because things can respawn and aggro can sometimes do some weird funky things, and you need that second tank to pick up mobs and bring it over to your main tank. Or you have your second tank, you know, pick up a mob and just bring it close to the main tank so that your melee cleave and your mage cleave can help DPS them down. Stuff like that. When it comes to damage dealers, I believe there isn't the most optimal choice, but mage is really strong right now. But ranger can do a lot of really cool things too with an AoE kind of route that they can provide that also does some bleed stacks. But pretty much, I think the name of the game is comboing status effects. Great example is that fire mage can apply like a burn dot, and then the cleric can upgrade that burn dot to do, I forget what it's called. It's like a conjuring fire or something like that, but they can upgrade that status. So there's a lot of really cool class interplay and class combos, which I think they've nailed it. And I think Intrepid, in terms of class design, I understand exactly what they're going for, and that's every class is valuable at their one specific thing. And if you don't have that one class in your group, you will very noticeably see the side effects of that. Now, I think it is more noticeable with your support classes, the tank, healer, and bard. And obviously damage is damage, right? But if you're missing one of those three, your group, I would say, is inefficient. You have to cover your bases in terms of your tank, heals, and utility. Just have to. So let's talk about my last point, and I'm gonna keep this pretty quick, but that's perceived expectations leading up of Alpha 2 and what we currently have, you know, with the first week of the Alpha 2 launch. Now, I think the perceived expectation of how the game is supposed to work in terms of the community based and then you kind of doing content with the group is heavily incentivized. I think that's done extremely well. I think they showcased that pretty much throughout the entire development of the game, and it's been a shining point of what Ashes Creations is trying to do. Now, I feel like some of the expectations of polish and what the current state of the game is has been, you know, kind of mismatched. I feel like there's a lot of marketing and trying to polish up their showcases to get the best possible playtest possible. So that from like a marketing standpoint, it looks extremely good for the game. I think that took place. I do feel like the game is in not a super bad state, but I feel like it's in a state where a lot of people were kind of like, what's going on here? Why does this feel rough? Why does it feel like this is a 4 to 5 years away? Now, to keep in mind, for an Alpha 2, I feel like this is a very good stable game. I feel like the Alpha 2, even with the broken quests, me falling through the world, you know, dumb stuff like that, that's expected. I feel like it's okay that's happening. It's not the end of the world, you know. You don't have to be a big doomer just because you try to do a quest and it broke. I mean, my gosh, like, you ever played Elder Scrolls Online? I mean, so yeah, no, I feel like the expectations and what they delivered, it wasn't 1-to-1. And I understand why some people are mad or upset, but I don't think, because it is an Alpha 2, I don't think it justifies burning the entire town down over it. I feel like there's criticisms you can make, and I'm going to give my hot take. This is my hot take on this matter. I believe Intrepid Studios did more damage to themselves by making sure all their showcases were so polished, and they didn't show kind of the current state of the game, like how it is right now. I feel like they could have not necessarily dumbed down, but showed the more rough, choppy aspects of the game in their showcases, and I think it would have tempered and helped expectations extremely, especially the expectation that when Alpha 2 rolls around and we're going to be able to play it persistently, like straight from the get-go. I feel like they should have hammered down way harder that this is not just an Alpha 2 and you're going to have persistency from the get-go. This is a test. This is supposed to be rough and choppy, and they should have showcased that way more. So I think the people's minds were just through the moon of when they hop into the game and are like, what is this buggy mess? Why does it look so rough? You know, why is my quest broken? And that's just because it's an Alpha 2, and showcases that we saw looked like it was pretty much a finished game. Like, I think that's the big like, it's definitely a misconnect, but I think that's the biggest issue. I think that is my biggest critique of Intrepid. Man, I'm definitely getting sick. My voice is growing, but I enjoyed myself, and I hope you guys enjoyed Alpha 2 as well.